Hi, it's Susan from Worldpeacefull, and as you can see, this is love, and it's a mirror. It's mirroring back us to us. It's incredible, isn't it? I'm just looking at the reflections in love. So that's a very powerful word. Another one that's very powerful is to never give up on your dreams, to dream for a chance to live. Never lose hope. In all endings, there's beginnings, and the answers are always within us. I'm going to show you another few words that inspire my life. This one's one of my favourites. This is the creed by which I live. I never give up. Even in homelessness, I never give up. I never give up in poverty. I never give up in success. I never give up when it looks like all hope is lost, because I always find joy in everything. Because if you open your heart and your mind, you will always see it. It's when we close down that we can't feel it. Another word that is really powerful is this one. There may be people who feel they want to finish. They want to exit the play. They don't want to be here. I've been there. I understand. But what I'm saying is to live. And that we are, in a sense, being lived. I did not birth myself. I did not make myself. Yet I live. And always the interesting question is, well, who am I? So last night I had inspiration, actually early hours this morning. This is often when I do get inspiration, and I'm not a person who's early morning. So I'm going to read to you the poem I wrote. I'm going to premise it by saying I didn't have a religious upbringing. My mother is a Christian, but she became a Christian later in life. She had it in her childhood, but when I was growing up, my father was atheist, so he never was interested in any form of religion. So we as children were not influenced by religion at all. And I was most definitely an atheist, probably up until around 23, 24, I think, because I do remember going through a shift in my life at that time and exploring these things. But I ended up going on another trajectory. I never found the answer, so to speak, in religious community. For myself, it was about finding the answers within myself. So I took the journey on the basis of seeking truth. Now, the poetry I've written lots and lots of poetry, thousands and thousands of poems now, and they've come out of hardships that I've gone through in my life, because I've sought the truth about those hardships, because I don't believe you can heal any problem until you solve the problem. For me, that's understanding what created it, what happened, and for myself to make peace with the understanding of that. So I typically am a person who perseveres when there's things that I consider to be very, very important and that I need to understand the nature of that problem. And in my experience, healing has most definitely come through my perseverance with problems. And this poetry, if you like, that I'm going to read for you now is really a result of my own search of truth. I wouldn't know these words, they wouldn't have come to me had I not been a real sincere seeker of it. So the poem is called "The End Times Are Symbolic of a New Beginning." The earth from space is breathless magnificence. The third planet from the sun is a library with infinite records. sifted through archaeological digs, carbon dating, papyrus leaves, inscriptions, encodings, etchings, as the past tells a story of the future. The question is, are you listening to his story or her story? For as the ice caps melt, they are poles apart. Life is a harmonic blueprint we did not design. Humility worshipped magnificence beyond comprehension, as all needs were supplied by clockwork. As the earth rotates around the sun, it appears the sun rotates around the earth. As night follows day, the earth faces the sun or turns away. What holds us on the earth is a gravitational pull that we take for granted, as it has always been this way. Yet the earth is moving body, alive, circling and cycling as part of cosmic events. We call the 12 phases of the moon 1 year. Yet it is the sun blocked by the earth in phase as the moon rotates in 24 of what is called hours. All arbitrary numbers to map what we see and then believe. To make sense of our universe without knowing the sphere. For it appears we are at the centre point. To travel beyond the speed of light away from the earth, to move beyond space and time, could we arrive before we start? If we were to return before we start, what world would we create given what we know? We remember his story of conquest, murder, and control, historically recorded as victories. We remember her story of community, life-bearing, and surrender, historically left unrecorded as night follows day. For what is taken for granted is not a role, but nurturing the nature of future generations. This is a given. We look upon our planet from a great distance and we see those into control. The puppet masters pulling the strings behind the scenes. Never seen or heard, as secrecy is the silent weapon of this war. Those rewriting the news, investing in instruments of war, never sleeping. This is the capstone. For they are left unchallenged, as money is God, and artificial intelligence knows not truth. For those godless have no power to determine their destiny, as unconsciousness living the lie. For to lie to oneself is the highest betrayal. The all-seeing eye is consciousness awakening to love. Placing a cap on trade as true abundance is balance, not greed. Greed is the genetically modified seed of humanity's destruction. Slavery begins when we believe we have no power. We believe in powerlessness. Abuse shows when we believe we have no say. Violence grows where hope used to believe, as we force others to change in our image. For we have not known the wisdom of the dream, the silent peace of surrender, the silent prayer of acceptance, that accepts night follows day, aware that the truth is the earth revolving around the sun. For those who know are not in control of the moment, they simply surrender to it. For they know not what will come, as they do not need to know. For how can one control what is out of control, as it is always flowing to the source? Life is not on a need-to-know basis, as information comes at the right moment. Just as water turns into wine, as the elixir of life is both the highs and the low. To align the planets is to realise the precision of the equinoxes as homeostasis. As real power has no control, only allowance of nature, returning to the still point. For nature is the real spectrum without dominance, where all is done beyond space and time. As the sum of the parts informs the whole. The whole is the sum of the parts, for there is nothing apart in unity. Unity is a simple recognition that there is no separation in the universe. As we are all one, no matter the primitive beliefs of the few puppets acting as masters. For it is not possible to control the full spectrum, as this is the Rainbow Bridge. It is not possible to buy up all spectrum. And how can one own the colours that inform the light? For you cannot own what is natural. For how can you own your own hand or leg? Ownership was always about the control by those who do not know themselves. To know thyself are the words remembered when one returns before they arrive. These words are carved into deep library walls, entombing silence. For silent walls fight against universal wisdom that silently encodes survival as a blueprint. As the blue planet is not at war with itself, as ecosystems are feedback loops. For it is not survival of the fittest that wins. It is the evolution of those who know love without condition. For this is unconditional love allowing change without resistance. Evolution reversed is know it you love. For the very purpose of the journey is to come home, not to leave the planet. For planet X is XX, not XY, as X marks the spot at this crossroad. It is to rebalance the Y with X as a decision for equality, as this is homeostasis or balance, naturally aligning with life. It is to kiss and make up, surrendering to love, not war. As those at war know not love. Rome was never built in a day, yet all empires always fall. And the path to Jerusalem is to remember the teachings on the Mount. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall know God. Jerusalem is not a place, it is the symbol of a birth. Birthing love as the true saviour of our world. For one is not chosen. One simply chooses to love under all conditions. There are no favourites, no superior, no inferior. Only the one family learning to love. For you know not what you do when you separate a unified field of sunflowers. There is no them or us, only us in this game of hide and seek. There is no enemy, only potential friends. Did one not say love is the answer? Yet so many forget this simple precept. It is not a concept, but love in action that includes everyone as part of the self-made whole. It matters not the colour, class, creed, or greed, all reflects diversity as unity. For this is the true message that came down through the annals of time. But did you hear the message preached by so many so long ago? There is nothing to fear but fear itself. Fear is false evidence appearing real. The greatest power is in gentle compassion. Be like little children. Look at life with innocence. Be quick to forgive, let go of control, and enjoy the moment as it is. For clowns remember the child within, laughing and playing. For life is not a serious business. It is enlightenment when you lighten up. Yet can you find the light in the dark, I venture? Can you let go of control and find inner peace? For this is the light seeking you. And you are seeking the light. Yet it cannot be found in things, in power, in control or war. It is found in silence when the wars have stopped. For one can stand on a hill and recite great parables, endlessly repeated in stories but not realized. For until you leave the palace of security, you cannot find real peace in uncertainty. For you must venture past the walls of your own making into the forest of vulnerability. You must cross the rainbow bridge to meet with the other people on the other side. For you cannot unify the realm until you live the same as all others. For until you walk in the shoes of another, you cannot know their plight. It is said the meek will inherit the earth. The meek are without ego or agendas, as they are over 21. You can surveil, gather data, and reach for full spectrum dominance, but peace will never be found in the instruments of control. So consider the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor spin. They are just being themselves as night follows day. This is the clarion call to those who are listening for truth, not proof or evidence. Consider this a reminder to remember your humanity. Contemplate this as an invitation to be the change you wish to see in the world. For if not you, then who? If not now, then when? For what you do to another returns to the self, as night follows day, or day follows night. For you cannot fight nature, and you can never win. For life is not a battleground, but a field of infinite possibilities. As our life is to open to the enlightenment of nature. Nature spins, but never toils as the soils of alluvial gold. The real gold is not in money, but in the realization that you can never eat gold. For nature is sustainability as homeostasis, recalibrating as the greatest disruption. As the central sun is the sundial and the inner wheel. As you did not create the universe, the one song created you. For until you sing the one song in harmony, you cannot recognize the real word in the universe. So as I sing this song to you, I remember the verse as one word. And this is the verse. Who am I? I am that which I am. I am you. You are me. Can you see eternity in the blade of grass? Can you feel unity in the whispering wind? Can you know life as the gift of grace? For she is we created in equality, growing together in a garden of Eden. For to know the garden is to honour each variety, to judge not as good or bad, but given. For heaven is in love, and love is life in peace. For peace is the one word, remembering life as God or God as life. I send you peace and love, as this is the one religion that unifies all worlds beyond space and time. So that was my poem that I wrote this morning. And it's funny, you know, when I hear those biblical references that come to me, they are coming to me. But they could easily be written with Buddha. They could easily be written with Muhammad. They could easily be written with Lao Tzu, because we are the one energy. In fact, when I thought of the word religion, because I've never followed our religion, I have been to churches, and I've been to a mosque once. That was when I was in Kashmir with a friend of mine who was a human rights activist. So I did go there, and I have been to a Buddhist temple. I have been with Taoists. Just trying to think if there was anyone else that I've spent a little bit of time with. I have done a 10-day meditation. That was Vipassana, just here in Melbourne. I've also done it in Perth. And that really, all Vipassana is saying nothing for 10 days, meditating a lot. They start at 4:30 in the morning and it finishes at 9 p.m. at night. You eat really healthy food. You do not speak or make eye contact with anybody for 10 days. Because what they're seeking is to encourage people to enter into that silence. That is what it means. If I do not go within, I go without, which means if I do not go within my inner world, then I will believe everything outside of myself. Now, all the drug addictions, all the aimlessness, all the sense of not being grounded comes from not being anchored within your own self. It's like standing very solidly with both feet on the ground. There's nothing airy about it at all. It's very grounded. When you're a person who doesn't know thyself, you're very easily influenced by others. You get caught up in the unconsciousness that's going on around you. You believe what you hear on television. You read the papers. You believe this is all there is to life. You don't know the garden. Now, I often talk about the Garden of Eden in my poetry. And as I haven't even read the Bible. I don't know. I've heard these words before, but when I was young, but it comes to me more in poetry because I'm kind of tuning in that way for some reason. But I wanted to show you these flowers. Aren't they lovely? This is your Garden of Eden. This is the varieties. You could look at this as all the people in your garden. They're all different varieties. And we don't go, I reject this colour and I accept that one. We look at the bouquet of all of us working together. This is what the unity is about, and this is the time for it. We've all been in states of fear. It's a control paradigm that has been, in a sense, formulating the world we're in for a very long time. But inherent within that framework are a lot of loving acts. You see it in families. You see the great beauty of artists, poetry. We still keep singing the one song. This is the universe. It's the song of unity that brings us all together. In my poem, I also spoke of the clown, because I am one. I was a clown for many, many years. I clowned all over the world with Patch Adams. I clowned in Russia. This is a little clown. I gave this to my friend. Now, some people are frightened of clowns, and what I'd like to say to those people who are scared is that really that's come out of the mindset of people who are afraid of the clown within themselves. So those who have created the scary clowns are really those who are afraid of the innocence and the beauty of the real clown. Clowns are antiquity. They are ancient. They're in every single culture of the world. There are many types of clowns. When I was with Patch Adams, he was the trickster. I was a peace clown. I was actually given a peace symbol when I was in Russia. Just going to pat my dog down. I was given a peace symbol when I was in Russia, and that's when I became a peace clown. It just came from someone. I have no idea who gave it to me now. But the joy we felt clowning in the orphanages and the nursing homes, when we gave unconditional love to all the people. We didn't say, I'm going to love you and not you. As clowns, we love everyone. Clowning is actually the training for unconditional love, because you absolutely give and you don't think. It's in that emptiness, which is a space where love can fill. So we're just loving everyone. We're not analysing or thinking or avoiding. We are loving everybody. It's not even courage. It's our true nature to love each other. That's what I learned. I clowned in 20 countries. I've clowned in slums. I've clowned in HIV clinics. I've clowned with prostitutes who were dying of AIDS, and their children who had AIDS as well. I went to Mother Teresa's missionary of charity, just near Chennai in Tamil Nadu in India. I saw Mother Teresa's image as I came into this place. See, I can feel emotions coming up. We went and saw the children who were deformed in lots of ways. And we just came to bring a smile to them, to remind them how beautiful they really are. I also met abandoned women who had been thrown out by their families. And in India, of course, there's very strong patriarchy there. The women are not valued equally to the men. And really around the world, I would say there's truth in that discrimination that's been normalised. The role of women, which I mentioned in my poem, I talked about the XX and the XY. That's the chromosomes that I was referring to. I spoke of the role of women in respect of community, birthing children, and surrendering. That's not valued. It was a given. In other words, it's taken for granted. The mother is taken for granted. I met a man yesterday who had been on the street for 7 years. As a child, as a 10-year-old, his mother threw him out. He lived a life not knowing the love of a mother. He was with a gang of boys, and then he was taught how to fight, to defend himself, because it wasn't safe on the street. But this boy, he took himself and got educated. He became a civil engineer. He did a degree. And even to this day, he would be, I reckon, in his 60s, 70s. To this day, he believes his mother doesn't love him. I consider him to be a miracle. And I said to him, what did you learn? And he said, I became very strong. But he didn't know a mother's love, where her arms are around him, giving him that sense of security and reinforcement. And he was a very beautiful man. So his love came from within himself. He didn't become bitter and become an alcoholic. He didn't suicide. He found himself. He's a success story, but there'll be many who would have suicided, who had lost a parent or lost their families. The poem is about the one song which is bringing the family together, which is all of us across the world. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what colour you are. The reason we're different colours is because of the environment. Natural selection, adaptation is what has formulated the various diversity around the world, and each is beautiful. When you're a clown and you look at people, it doesn't matter what country they come from, you see their beauty. As soon as you see them smile, you become one. But I have to say, even though I've connected with people who haven't smiled, I still felt one with them because I honoured where they were. Their job is not to make me happy. I already am. I saw it as simply myself being like the flower, I guess, opening up in that garden, just another variety. So the clowns really are the reminder of happiness and childlike behaviour as acceptable in adult form. The clown is the reminder to the adult of the child within. The clown is to say, lighten up, have fun. All this paranoia and fear and security and surveillance and data collection, this is all leading us to distrust, to separation, because we get it wrong. Innocent people will be harmed. We have to learn to dialogue with one another. Conflict resolution is essential for the reunification of humanity. We also need truth and reconciliation commissions. We need to speak the truth about what is going on in our world. And we need to make peace with that. I am personally not a person who believes in punishing a person for what they've done. I believe in awakening them to who they can become. The past is the past. You can't change what has happened. All you can do is resolve it. And of course, we're not resolving conflicts in our world. What we're doing is using power to suppress those conflicts, to find ways to maneuver out of them, to seek advantage over others. And this is simply the projection of power. This is not living in community. This is standing apart from that community. And enabling special treatment for some, yet the majority are treated in a different way. This is not equality. And it is a lie, because we are equal. We were all born equal. If you put a whole row of babies together from all different families, some wealthy, some poor, you would not know who belonged to which family. Some might say colour. Let's remove all those differences and just put all those babies together as babies. Now, in my poem, I talk about what Jerusalem is about. This came to me in inspiration. It was not about the actual human. It was about the birthing of love into the world. Love is the answer, has been said. I would say it is the question, it is the answer, it is all of it. And it doesn't matter what religion you're part of. It doesn't matter what philosophy you've subscribed to. Truth is truth. Love is love. And all roads, in a sense, lead to Rome, which is kind of interesting that came up like that just then. Because Rome in my poem was being depicted as empire, yet all roads lead to Rome. Again, symbolic of we're all going to come to the one origin, which is called home. And the door that opens to home is love. So I thought I might put that down. I might light a candle, because this really was about a light in the darkness. Let's see if I can do this without burning myself. That would be good. I love candles because they're very alive. See, isn't that beautiful? If I just move that around. Look at that, 2 flames for the price of 1. I don't even know if that one's going to lighten up. Maybe. There we go. I've boosted it. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? No, it doesn't look like it's going to light. Isn't that interesting? It's not meant to. I'm the light. I'm the light and the candle, as are you. But I love this candle holder. Isn't it gorgeous? So the light is within. I'm going to show you one more thing too that I brought with me, which was selenite. See this? It's like a mountain, isn't it? That's actually a crystal. It's called selenite. It's very good for clearing a room of toxins. Our planet is full of toxins right now. Our world needs healing. Many healers have been ridiculed because they've not been professionally recognised. It's no surprise that many of the healers are female. And because it's not considered scientific, yet these modalities have come down from thousands of years too. We're not dealing necessarily with new healing modalities. I want to actually talk a little bit before I finish about a program I saw last night, which was on medicinal cannabis. Olivia Newton-John was on 60 Minutes here in Australia. She's dying of cancer. And her daughter Chloe was talking about their struggle and the great love of her mother. Olivia is very natural. I loved listening to her. She talked about the Great Australian Salute, which is getting rid of the flies. And I thought, she hasn't changed. She hasn't even lost her accent. Remember, she was in Greece? She still has those pants. She wants to sell her pants for $1 million because she's wanting to heal people. That's the gift Olivia's given the world. She gave the gift through Greece, like that film. It was innocent. It was all about love. It was about her coming out and, being the sexy woman that she is. It was throwing off the innocent sort of virginal quality, I guess. And then she became this sex siren. But there was still a great beauty in that. It was done very beautifully and a lot of fun as they were discovering life. That's what I loved about Greece. We all loved it. I'm of that generation. And she was talking to people over Skype in Australia and recommending medicinal marijuana. But, of course, it's been criminalised, and I laugh at that because in Canberra itself you can carry around one cigarette of marijuana, a joint it's called. I thought, why is that? Is that for the pollies? It's the only state in Australia where it's decriminalised. Isn't that interesting? So don't you think it's time, if there is medicinal cannabis that takes away all pain, wouldn't we want that for people? Why are we criminalising a herb? Because she said it's not a drug. She said it's a herb, and she's right, it's a plant. But then we've got the issue of economics around all of this, and this is a really big problem because the pharmaceutical companies making a lot of money out of cancer treatment because we're putting the money before the people, you see. This is why my poem was talking about love as the answer. How do we reconcile love in an economic system? We have to reframe the making of money, that it's not attached to our identity. It doesn't separate people as better than or less than. That we do embrace the egalitarianism. Certainly here in Australia, this was a foundation to this country's culture. You know, being fair-minded. You know, Australia is very much a country which has promoted a fair go for everybody. But we're slowly losing that beautiful quality of equality that we're very famous around the world for. Our friendliness is coming out of the fact that we see ourselves in each other here. This is not a huge population in Australia, yet we live in a very big country. Anybody that travels around this country will see the vastness of it and the great beauty of Australia. It's a very ancient land. The Indigenous people know it very well. They used herbs to heal themselves. They were deeply connected to country. We call it a nation state. They see it as country. They knew where the water was. They knew how to survive from the land. They lived sustainable life. We, on the other hand, lost our way. We got caught up in making money. We got caught up in production, but we're in a situation where the ice caps are melting, which is what I wrote in my poem. We have separated ourselves from one another. We're not caring about each other as much. That's the separation. Unity is about seeing ourselves in each other. I talk about homeostasis in the poem. Nature automatically rebalances. Everything is in a state of change. Always it's heading back to the rebalancing or recalibration. Because true peace, true balance, true sustainability is inherent in finding equilibrium. Economics, interestingly enough, is designed on the basis of supply and demand, which is always seeking equilibrium. The whole point of it was that we would not produce too much. We would only meet needs. But because demands became expanded through marketing, where we cleverly worked out ways of encouraging people to identify with cars, with houses, with clothing, with how we look, in order to increase demand, because we want to profit maximize, and shareholders within companies are always seeking to expand yields, and this works out of harmony with the natural system. So issues like medicinal cannabis are not allowed to be distributed to those in the greatest pain because of the competitive arrangements that favour profit maximising as distinct from balance. Imagine if we could admire those who were the most in balance, who lived the most ecologically sustainable lives, who didn't display a lot of power and abundance through things, but actually were demonstrating balance in all that they did. They were living peaceful lives. And we had leadership that were peaceful, who were not finding themselves in positions where they were not able to speak the truth. That then leads to great confusion for everybody, because we're all in this together. I know of a lady who is in her late 70s who's in extreme pain. She's a friend of mine's mother, and she yelps just getting out of bed. She's yelping all the way to the toilet. She's in bed all day, every day. She's by herself living in a little unit. Her daughter comes and washes her, has food for her, and then she has to go to work. She doesn't have anybody supporting her because the whole economic system is set up that you have to keep working. She doesn't have the time to look after her mother. Her mother's on her own. And she said to me, she looked into my eyes and she said, "This is cruel. She can't get pain relief because she's allergic to all the medications." She said, she just wants it to end. She's had enough. She doesn't think she can take it. This is a woman who had 8 babies. All women would know who've had children, the pain of childbirth. This woman knows pain. She's got a high threshold of pain, but she's in absolute agony. And her daughter says to me, "It's horrendous." She said, listening to her screaming as she's moving, and she can't give her pain relief. She mentioned medicinal marijuana to the doctors, but he's quoting research papers. So what would peace do? Peace would most definitely do what Olivia Newton-John said. You do what you have to do. Peace would do what the father said about his son in pain. He will put his son first. He will make sure his son is out of pain because that's what love does. The same thing applies in war zones with the civilians who are suffering. We're all just ignoring that, but these people are in agony themselves through no fault of their own. They're in the wrong place at the wrong time because there's oil issues, there's energy issues around this. Everybody knows this. What would love do? Love would seek out free sources of energy. As I said, religion, I was going to tell you about the insight I had into the word religion, which was re-lig-ion. I just separated it. And ion is energy. Re is repeat, and lit I saw as legitimate. So I saw religion as legitimate energy recurring. So when you're in harmony with the legitimate energy, you will find you have an infinite abundance of energy. We will live in homeostasis. We will not be exhausted and we will not be getting so sick. We will not be polluting our environment. We will be responsible stewards of our planet, where we are very mindful of what we're putting out into the atmosphere. We're very mindful of what we're throwing out. We're ensuring that we recycle. We're ensuring we don't use products that are dangerous, and we do not bring in technologies that are going to displace other human beings and care nothing about their well-being and simply frame it in narratives of you're either with us or against us. We're not. We're all in it together. There is no enemy. There are only potential friends in this world. And only when you realize true peace will you see yourself in that other. And as you give to that other, something returns to you. Maybe it's dignity, maybe it's self-respect, maybe it's self-esteem, maybe it's self-love. And as you let go of the grip on control and you just let it go, something naturally comes to replace it. You never needed to have the control because life itself is abundant and life is constantly giving. That's why I've often talked about gross national happiness as distinct from GDP, which is gross domestic product. Gross national happiness is the abundance that keeps giving. It's the gift that keeps on giving because we're happy. So I said in this poem that the end times are symbolic of a new beginning. And this is a clarion call. And it is. Your happy destiny is unavoidable. Thank you for listening, and I wish you joy. And I also wish you, I have to do this because I love it. It's my favourite subject. And I wish you love. Love is indeed the answer. Thanks. Bye.